reading some scary stories from Reddit while you guys watch my Overwatch gameplay. Now I am new to Overwatch, so please don't judge me too hard. But if you guys have any tips on how I can improve, let me know in the comments below. So let's just get it started. So in honor of Halloween coming up, our first story is from the subreddit Short Scary Stories, posted by Beautify, and it's called Our New Neighbors Don't Celebrate Halloween. When no wooden tombstones or plastic skeletons had appeared in the Miller's yard by September 31st, we were worried. But when their house was still undecorated by October 15th, we began to panic. That afternoon, Gene Wilcox bought the Millers a batch of his special pumpkin cream cheese cupcakes. He offered to let our new neighbors borrow his inflatable ghost and an animatronic witch. The Millers may not have time to buy props after the recent move to our neighborhood, but John was happy to share. Amy Miller closed the door in his face. Matilda Hawthorne tried next. She offered the Millers one of the bright orange flyers that we put up every year, the ones that list Halloween events and remind everyone of our rather unusual trick-or-treating hours. 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. for the early shift, and 12 a.m. to 3 a.m. for the graveyard shift. Matilda asked the Millers if they had any questions about the program. When Frank Miller shook his head, she inquired delicately which member of the Miller family would be staying up to hand out candy during the graveyard shift. Nobody, Frank Miller had responded. We don't celebrate Halloween. Didn't celebrate. We couldn't believe it. Yesterday, Terry Preute walked up to the Millers' decidedly pumpkin-free driveway with 2 sacks of hand candy. Yesterday, Terry Preute walked up the Millers' decidedly pumpkin-free driveway with 2 huge sacks of candy. He tried to make our neighbors understand just how important Halloween was in our town. Terry explained that if the Millers didn't want to put up decorations or join in any events, that was fine, but they should at least hand out sweets to the trick-or-treaters. Frank Miller told Terry just where he could stick his candy and ordered him off of the property. Damn. A few hours before trick-or-treating began, I made one final attempt. For the last time, Amy Miller spat in my face. We are not participating in this evil, godless, pagan holiday. Just hear me out, I pleaded. All I ask is that you let me sit here on your porch and pass out candy. Please, it's for your own safety. For our own. The hulking shape of Frank Miller appeared in the hallway behind his wife. Are you threatening my family? You better get out of here right now, mister. And if even one of you heathens sets foot on my lawn tonight, I'm calling the police. It's almost 3 a.m. now, and the screams from the Miller's place have finally died down. Tonight has been as harrowing as any Halloween in this town. I place chocolate in clawed hands, give lollipops to writhing tendrils, and stare into ravenous maws not made by makeup. I didn't offer gumballs or caramels. No, if I didn't offer gumballs and caramels, they'd gnaw at my flesh instead. The Millers were right. Evil, godless things really do stalk the shadows on Halloween night. Things that revel in a human agony. Fortunately, the people of this town learned long ago that there is one thing such beings crave more than death and pain. Sugar. Trick or treat. Okay, so that was the first story. And I thought it was pretty cool. So I'm pretty sure that instead of like normal children trick-or-treating, there's monsters in their town that come out, and in order to for them not to kill the people of the town, they have to, give them treats and stuff. So, I mean, I guess that family should have listened, because, if my neighbor was like, please, it's for your own safety, just let me stay on your porch and pass out candy, I would have been like, but I wouldn't be in that situation. Anyways, the next story is also from Short Scary Stories, the subreddit. The next story is also in the subreddit Short Scary Stories, posted by Lightning Nations. It's called I Feel Like I Owe This Subreddit a Huge Apology. Okay, let's start. Look, 95% of you have no idea who I am, and the other 5% probably don't care, but I've got a few things I need to get off my chest, so buckle up. I've been posting to the sub for a while, and it's safe to say it's one of my absolute favorite places on the internet. This community absolutely rocks. The positive feedback I get here really brightens my mood. The only problem is I sometimes cannot help reading not so positive comments. At first I dismissed them as salty haters, which in retrospect was a defense mechanism, but despite my stubborn nature, the criticism rolled around in the back of my skull, nagging me. For example, 2 weeks ago I posted a story about a lady pouring acid on her husband's face, and a chemical engineer in the comments pointed out the descriptions about how skin melted didn't ring true. Then, on another submission, a surgeon claimed they couldn't take my story about eyes getting gouged out seriously due to several medical inaccuracies. But honestly, as much as these comments stung, I needed to hear them, because they were 100% correct. I hadn't done my research. My writing was plagued with inconsistencies and lazy guesswork. Frustratingly, I had 2 stories drafted already, one about a family of 3 who die in a car accident, and another about dismemberment. I couldn't exactly post them, could I? I'd only embarrass myself further. This sub deserved better. You readers deserved better, and I had to hold myself to a higher standard. What I needed was a little realism, and that meant doing the research, putting in the work. Causing a car wreck wasn't difficult. After running this cute family off the road, I pulled over, hopped into the ravine, held up a notebook and pen, and then let inspiration strike as they cried for help, slowly dying one by one. This allowed me to observe subtle details I would have completely missed by simply fabricating the story. After that, I catfished a lady from Tinder and lured her into my cellar. It took a lot of gentle coercion to make her spill the beans about how it feels to lose your legs without any anesthetic. But we got there, eventually. Right now, I'm taking a little coffee break and formatting some notes. I'll go back to remove her arm soon, but don't think I'll stop there, oh no. I plan on revising my past stories as well. All this to say, going forward, my submissions are going to be absolute bangers, I promise. What else is there to say? I let you all down, and for that, I am truly, truly sorry. But if you'll only give me a second chance, I'm sure I can win you over. Thanks, X. Alright, that is the end of that story, and I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be like a person hopefully pretending to, become a killer or crazy in order to, really post stories on subreddit that are like true. But I think they really did a good job, so, yeah. Alright, now this next story is from a list of compiled short scary stories from Reddit, but I got it off a website, but I'm still gonna assume it's from the subreddit, short scary stories. This one is called The Prettiest Girl in Class by twisting_straw. She was the prettiest girl in class, but of course she never heard that from me. I was obsessed with her. I'd steal glances at her every chance I got. During class, when I was supposed to be taking notes, on the train we rode after school. But today, I wanted to do more. I hopped off the train when she got off and followed her out of the station and onto the sidewalk. I made sure to keep my distance. I wanted to surprise her. It was hard staying within a good distance of her, though. She kept taking furtive glances back, and I looked down at my phone or pretended to tie my shoe every time she would. When she unlocked the door and crept inside her house, I crept to the front stairs. My heart pounded as I rang the doorbell. A chime sounded from inside and awoke the butterflies in my stomach. Just as I reached again for the doorbell, she opened the door ajar, and recognizing my face, she gestured for me to hurry in, promptly closing the door behind me. There was a guy, she paused. There was a guy following. Yeah, it was me. The words came out of my mouth before I realized what I had said. I know that. I sighed in relief, but I'm talking about the man behind you. The doorbell chimed, and the butterflies in my stomach stood still this time. Dang, so someone was following him as he was following her. I don't know why she acted so calm about it, because, like, it's still creepy that, she was technically being followed by two men. Or, she was being followed by her classmate. The classmate was being followed by, another man. But anyways, yeah. Alright, this next story is from the subreddit No Sleep, posted by Robert Mort. It is called My Wife Has Always Hated Halloween. Now I know the horrifying reason why. Phoebe has always hated Halloween. Even back when we were dating, she never came to any Halloween parties with me. I have a cold. I have a headache. I hate something bad. After we got married and moved into the suburbs, she wouldn't even join me handing out candy to trick-or-treaters. I'm going to sleep, she'd say, even though it was only 6 o'clock. She'd even ask me to leave the house because I was making too much noise. I'd let it slide until Anthony was born. Come on, we have to go trick-or-treating. Anthony was dressed up as the cutest little pumpkin, only 8 months old. He smiled as I bounced him in my arms, looking out the door into the night. I'm really not feeling well, Phoebe replied, lingering on the stairs. You seemed fine 10 minutes ago. Well, I don't feel well now. I don't believe you. It was mean, but I was annoyed. She'd given me the same excuses for 8 Halloweens in a row. It wasn't coincidence. She didn't deny it, just looked past me into the night. Why do you hate Halloween? Is it because your parents were so strict? I know you weren't allowed to trick-or-treat growing up. Can't you just take Anthony alone? She said. Well, I want to go as a family, I said. She glanced again at the darkness gathering outside. She then pressed her lips into a thin line. I'm sorry, but I don't feel good. A heavy silence settled between us. She came down the stairs, wrapped her arms around both of us, and patted Anthony softly on the head. I love you both. Have fun tonight. From the way her voice slightly wavered, I could have sworn she was on the verge of tears. But she turned away, and in a flash of dark hair, she was already upstairs. The same dance happened over and over again every year. Anthony was soon wearing Mutant Ninja Turtles and Star Wars costumes instead of pumpkins, but Phoebe still refused to go trick-or-treating with us. Every year, we had the same discussion. I asked her to come. She insisted that she was feeling ill. She went upstairs to our bedroom and locked the door. Anthony and I headed onto the sidewalk, candy bucket swinging. Except on the evening of Halloween 2021, we came home early. Anthony had tripped and skinned his knee, so less than an hour after we had left, we were hobbling home. As we rounded the bend onto Maple Avenue, I saw that the light in our room was on. Phoebe hadn't gone to sleep, like she said she was. I helped Anthony with the wound, set him up in front of the TV, and then charged upstairs. I was mad. She must have heard us come home, must have heard Anthony crying in the kitchen, and she'd even come down to check on us. Whether her aversion to Halloween was psychological or some sort of moral religious thing, it had to stop. But as soon as I got to the top of the stairs, I froze. Phoebe's voice was coming from our room. She was talking to someone. I tiptoed to the door and pressed my ear against it. I couldn't make out what she was saying, but her voice was low, soft, and fast, like she was trying not to be heard. My body went cold. I turned the doorknob, but it was locked. Phoebe, let me in. The light coming from under the door went out. I know you're in there, I shouted. Seconds tickled by. A clatter sounded from behind the door, and finally it opened. Phoebe darted out, quickly closing the door behind her. She looked significantly worse than just an hour ago. Her skin was pale and deep bags under her eyes. You shouldn't be home this early, she whispered. Who's in there with you? No one. She glanced back at the closed door. You and Anthony need to get out of here. Now. What's going on? Mike. She was cut off by a soft thump. Someone was knocking on her bedroom door. Something about the knocks made my whole body go cold. They were slow, methodical, like the person on the other side had all the time in the world. Who's in there? I whispered. She glanced back at the door again, her eyes wide. Do you remember the time I got a really bad asthma attack? I told you about it when we first started dating, how I was in the hospital for weeks, how I almost died. Thump, thump. what's that got to do with anything? I should have died, but I didn't, and now, every Halloween, I have to give it some of my life in payment. Without another word, she pushed the door open. In the center of the darkened room stood a towering form. Black robes hung off its thin frame, trailing on the ground. A large jack-o'-lantern sat on its shoulders, its eyes flickering amber, the mouth cut into a wide grin. The only part of its body visible were its hands, long, gray, bone-thin fingers that ended in sharp nails. It stood in the center of the room, absolutely still. Phoebe turned away from me. She walked towards the thing, her legs shaking underneath her. The jack-o'-lantern raised a bony finger and touched her forehead, and then it crumbled into a mass black fabric at her feet. Phoebe turned around. Her mouth stretched into a wide grin as her eyes locked on mine. Then she stepped towards me, emitting a horrible, guttural laugh. I ran out the bedroom. "Anthony," I shouted. Finding him still in front of the TV, I grabbed him and ran outside. We leapt into the car and peeled out of the driveway. In the rearview mirror, I could see her, silhouette, in the upstairs window, watching us. Okay, that is the end of that story. Honestly, he should have just listened to her, okay? Because I feel like she was trying to keep him safe, Or just saying, hey, look. Or if anything, how could you go that long every year without asking her what was up, Like, you had all that time of being married, and you never could have asked her after Halloween. And then the part where his son was, 8 months old? Who goes trick-or-treating at 8 months old? They are not going to remember. You could have had that argument, like, when he was, 10, Maybe a little younger, but still. But anyways, let's go on to the next story. Now this next one is from the subreddit No Sleep, posted by Papa Mashika89. It's called "I'm in Detention and the Teacher Has Just Suggested a New Game." Detention. Again. Same story, different day. I was in detention about once a week for tardiness. I wonder if they'd still be so eager to dole out punishment if they knew it was because my dad had left last year for cigarettes and then had never came back. Or the fact that my mom was alcoholic, leaving me to defend for myself and find my own way to and from school on most days. These days, misfortune was a regularity, and any blips of happiness were few and far in between. I sat quietly as the other high school students filtered in. A couple of jocks in Letterman jackets took seats in the back, close to two popular girls that had never looked my way before. They cackled wildly as the flirting and the jokes began. They probably didn't even notice that I existed, breathing the same oxygen in the room as them. I was more like a coat rack in the corner than a person. I pulled up my hood and tugged at the drawstrings, retreating into my shell, and just hoped for the next 2 hours. I pulled up my hood and tugged at the drawstrings, retreating into my shell, and just hoped for the next 2 hours to go by as quickly as possible. After another minute, the bell rang. A mass exodus of kids passed by the windows on their way to the buses out front. A couple of them stopped to point and laugh at us. Brad, one of the jocks, gave them the finger, causing them to scurry off to the parking lot. After a few more minutes of the kids in the back talking about the game on Friday, Mr. Matheson finally strolled in. He stomped to the front desk and slammed a stack of folders on its surface with a loud smack, effectively silencing the chatter. He looked at each of us. His eyes were wild and bloodshot. He looked rather disheveled, not like his normal put-together self. Mr. Matheson was the 11th grade history teacher. He was ex-military and typically very no-nonsense and straight to business. He definitely didn't appear to be his normal self today. Alright, kiddos, today is going to be a little different. We are going to have a little fun in detention this time. Is that alright with everyone? His grin was borderline wicked. I didn't like where this was going. Sure, Mr. Matheson, I love fun, Brad joked. causing the others to giggle. "Shut your mouth, Peterson, you smartass. You know I've seen you in detention more than any other kid in this school. If it were up to me, you would have been out of here a long time ago. But you just keep scoring those touchdowns, don't you?" The teacher beamed a dry erase marker right at Brad, which he caught just before it struck his face. "See, those hands keep the town happy, but let's see if you can continue to be lucky, huh?" Mr. M pulled a revolver from his waistband and slapped it on the desk. The entire room gasped and fell silent. My heart thundered in my chest and my legs tingled with the urge to run. "You see, guys, the feds found my safe house. The collection of guns and an entire hill of Colombian Bam Bam. It's hard to make it in this economy with a teacher's salary, so I reverted to some business practices I saw in my time with the military." He locked the door and paced the front of the room like a shark circling its prey. "I bet they'll be here any minute to pick me up." Mr. M loosened his tie and tossed it to the floor. "It's life for me, boys. I got some briars I'm not proud of. Hidden from the school board, of course. No chance of parole, no siree, not me." He cackled maniacally, then causing all of us to jump. "So, we're going to go out with a bang. Let's have a little fun. This is something I picked up back in, you ever heard of Russian roulette?" He eyed each of us hungrily. None of us dared to utter a sound. "I'm sure you have. We're going to play it. Peterson, you're up first. I've been dying to shut up that mouth of yours." He strode to the desk and emptied all the bullets from the cylinder except one. "Come on up, Peterson," he said as he spun the cylinder and cocked back the hammer. Sir, please," Brad stammered. "Now come on, don't be shy. It's your time to shine." Brad didn't move. Mr. M stomped to the back of the classroom and held the gun up to his head. "Okay, I'll do it for you this turn." No, please, sir." Click. Boom. "Oh, your luck continues, Peterson. Who's next?" He eyed each of us, almost salivating with glee. Brad broke down and wept at his desk. "Oh, fine, you bunch of babies, I'll go next." He put the barrel in his mouth and winked at us before pulling the trigger. Click. And the teacher lives. Whoa, what a rush. He jumped up and down, giddy with joy. I was sick and I wanted to vomit. "How about you, Miss Newman? You've got yourself a big mouth as well. Come on up, be your prom queen." Jessica Newman shook her head feverishly, closing her eyes as if to wish what was happening away. "Oh, come on now, let's show a little gumption, ladies. You're all made so soft these days, it's really such a travesty." She started to cry, erupting little panic squeaks from her lips. "No. Okay, I'll do it for you as well then." He sighed and came to stand next to her, putting the barrel of the gun against her blonde hair. "Ready?" she wailed loudly as he pulled the trigger. Click. "Ooh, ha. We're getting closer now, boys. I can feel it. And we're 3 more chances, and one has to be the bullet." Jessica's head fell to her desk with a thud. She had fainted in terror. Mr. M danced around the desk for a moment to a silent song in his head. His arms drifted from side to side as he leapt and twisted like a figure skater. My mouth was dry. I was so afraid. I kept my eye on the gun. The chrome glinted in the light, threatening death. 3 students left. Can I get a volunteer? Who's going to step up, huh? He scanned the room, pointing with his index finger. Suddenly, through the horror somehow, I came up with a plan. I'll go, I groped. "Well, I'll be Mr. Johnson. Who would have thought? You know, it's always the quiet ones. Come on up, my boy." I slowly stood from my desk and walked to the front of the classroom on shaky legs. The room spun as bile rose in my throat. I forced it down and came to face the deranged teacher. "I'm so proud of you, son." He slapped my shoulder heartedly and shoved the revolver into my hand. The cold steel felt alien in my grasp. It felt wrong. I hated it. "Go ahead," he ushered me eagerly. I cocked back the hammer and brought it to my mouth. The barrel tasted like pennies against my tongue. Mr. M nodded his head, urging me to pull the trigger as a twisted smile curled across his face. I put a finger on the trigger, but at the last second enacted my plan. I pulled the gun from my mouth and pointed it right between his eyes. He didn't have time to react before I fired. A deafening bang filled my ears as smoke and gunpowder stung my eyes. Mr. M dropped to the floor in a heap as the other student screamed. His forehead had been canoed from the impact of the round. Brain matter and blood trickled down the chalkboard behind where he had stood just a moment ago. I dropped the gun and fell to my knees. I was too numb to cry, but I wanted to. Brad made a dash for the door, but just before he got there, men in body armor clashed through it. An entire team with FBI badges swarmed the room. A man in a suit approached me and went to one knee, placing an arm on my shoulder. "It's all right, son. You're safe now." I broke down and wept in his arms as he helped me into an ambulance outside. We all gave our accounts to the authorities. It was all over the news for a week. We had been excused for the rest of the school year, allowed to do our homework, and testing remotely from home. The parents sued the school for negligence in a background check they had performed on Mr. M and won a huge settlement. Jessica moved to another state, and Brad was never heard from again. Something about getting his GED and going to work at the family business. My mother felt so guilty that she gave up drinking. She's been sober for 3 months now, and I couldn't be more proud. I still had PTSD. Sometimes I dream about the taste of that gun in my mouth, and sometimes when I dreamed, I pulled the trigger on myself. Therapy was helping, but sometimes I'd wish I'd done it. And that is it for that story. That was a lot. Oh my gosh. That is so traumatizing, man. But yeah, that is about it, guys. That teacher is absolutely insane is all I'm gonna say. But that is it for now. Let me know if you guys would like to see some more ASMR content like this. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe, and maybe leave a comment, and remember to stay golden. I will see you guys in the next one.